Well, the Bahamas is on the right track to addressing the needs and opportunities required to tackle climate change. The thoughts of Laurie, Canadian High Commissioner to the Bahamas, who yesterday renewed her country's commitment to helping the Bahamas fight the battle. And according to Peters, that includes everything, offering up from everything from designing to planning to implementing projects that address climate-related challenges.
We know that with climate change, it is a race. And we're being forced to run this race at a sprint pace. But we need to have the stamina of a marathon runner as well. And perhaps the most effective way for us to run this race is by thinking of it as a relay. We need to make sure that government and donors and private sector all have their hands on that baton in order for us to run this race that is the race for climate resiliency as well.
Well, echoing the sentiments of both Canadian Prime Minister and the Prime Minister of the Bahamas, Peters agrees developing nations should not be punished for a problem they didn't create.
We've also implemented a ban on single-use plastic items, which frequently pollute European beaches, as well as the beautiful Bahamian beaches. And on this note, I will add that Italy's Foreign Ministry has now been plastic-free for several years. We've also set stricter emission limits for cars and vans. And I can tell you, this comes from a country that is worldwide famous to be very strong in the automotive sector. By 2025, half of the European Investment Bank financing will be dedicated to climate action and to environmental sustainability.
Well, that's the Italian ambassador, His Excellency Armando Varricchio, detailing the steps the European Union is taking to address climate change during a forum hosted by the University of the Bahamas and the Italian Embassy. The Italian ambassador said climate change is an issue which requires a commitment of all countries and stakeholders working together to address. He noted that the EU and Italy have developed a number of strategies to combat climate change.
Italy is in line to reaching climate neutrality by 2050. And we are among the European countries that have already achieved all the 2020 targets in terms of reducing emissions, energy efficiency, and energy consumption from renewable sources. And this is particularly important coming from a country like Italy, which is famous for our culture, for our landscape, for our heritage. Something that probably is not as known is the fact that Italy is the second largest manufacturing in Europe. We are an industrial country.
The Italian ambassador also noted that Italy and its European counterparts have set targets to reduce harmful emission levels and promote environmental sustainability. Well, Environment Minister Romauld Ferreira says the Bahamas is doing its part to address climate change. His comments came during the Climate Change Forum hosted by the University of the Bahamas and the Italian Embassy today. The Environment Minister said apart from banning single-use plastics, the Bahamas has passed a compendium of environmental laws to address environmental infractions and promote sustainability in the sector while addressing climate change.
Many of us have complained over the years that we have no environmental laws. Many of us. This is a huge step. So what you're witnessing is the evolution of a plethora of laws that can now be rolled out to cover any particular aspect. I know one of the popular ones is the cruise line industry and the creation of a new department. And another reason why it's very important is because there have been successive cases determined by the Privy Council which said that the BEST Commission is an internal advisory body lacking the legal ability to compel litigants. This is a very important step for our country.
Well, he explained why reducing the Bahamas' carbon footprint is so important.
We cannot talk about renewable energies, reducing our reliance on fossil fuel without tackling our dependence on plastics, because it comes from that. And the other big issue with plastics is they all break down to microplastics. They all end up in the ocean. And we're on a trajectory to have more plastics in the ocean than fish, as crazy as that may sound. And this is a local problem as well, because many of us seem to think that these problems exist somewhere else out there and they don't affect us. There have been numerous studies that have shown that microplastics are in the fish that we eat and that we consume.